If you don't watch this video to the end, you risk condemning yourself to years more of the same romantic disappointments that, I'm sure, are painfully familiar to many of you. Yes, I know how harsh, even frightening this statement might sound. But believe me, in a few minutes, you'll understand why I'm starting this way. Because right now, at this very second, your personal life, your relationships with men, or their agonizing absence, are most likely not governed by your conscious choice, not by your sincere desires. And the issue here isn't that you're not good enough, or that all the good men are gone. And it's certainly not because of some curse of celibacy. Celibacy have gone. The reason is deeper, and it's more insidious. Your reactions, your attraction to a certain type of man and repulsion from another are controlled by an invisible program. Powerful, deeply rooted in your unconscious. A program launched perhaps in early childhood, or maybe carrying echoes of the experiences of many generations before you. And until you see this program, until you understand its mechanism, you will continue to make efforts, try, hope, but each time, with painful predictability, return to the same point of dissatisfaction, pain, or loneliness, as if you're locked in an invisible cage of repeating scenarios. This isn't magic. This isn't esoteric speculation. This is profound psychology, based on decades of research and clinical practice. One of the greatest explorers of the human soul, Carl Jung, dedicated his life to studying these unconscious programs. He showed how our internal, often unconscious forces, our shadows, our inner images of man and woman, archetypes, invisibly dictate to us whom to fall in love with, whom to avoid, and why 97% of women, unknowingly, make the same fatal mistakes that destroy their chances for genuine, deep love and lead to losing men. If you feel that your relationships are a constant struggle, not a source of joy and strength, if you're tired of superficial advice from glossy magazines that promise instant results but deliver nothing but another disappointment, if you're finally ready to look into the true causes of your romantic dramas and find real working keys to understanding yourself and men, then stay with me. Because today, you will learn not just what to say before bed to make him fall madly in love. You will gain access to fundamental knowledge that will allow you to hack this old, destructive program and write a completely new script for your love. No illusions, no empty promises, only depth, only truth, only what you can start applying today to initiate irreversible changes in your destiny. This is not just information, it's an invitation to your personal transformation. I promise you that by the end of this conversation, you won't just get some advice. You will gain an understanding of fundamental principles discovered by the great Carl Jung, which will allow you, first, to truly understand yourself, your hidden motives, and the shadows that influence your choices and behavior in love. Second, you will be able to see male psychology in a completely different light, not through the prism of popular myths, but from the perspective of deep archetypal structures. Third, you will finally stop making those unconscious mistakes that push men away or lead to dependent and destructive relationships. And, most importantly, you will learn how to create the conditions for deep, genuine, and mutual love, based not on manipulation or desperate pursuit, but on the authentic, powerful attraction of two whole individuals. If you are ready for such a dive, if you are tired of superficial solutions and are looking for true knowledge, then stay with me. What you learn today could be a turning point in your personal history. Let's start with what prevents most women from building harmonious relationships. Carl Jung introduced the concept of the shadow. The shadow is that part of our personality that we are unaware of, do not accept, and often suppress. It's our dark twin, containing everything we consider bad, unworthy, or unacceptable in ourselves. Our fears, weaknesses, aggressive impulses, selfish desires. But the paradox is that the shadow can also hide your unrealized talents, your suppressed strength, your untapped creative energy, everything that, for some reason, was deemed wrong or dangerous during your upbringing and socialization. What happens when a woman is unfamiliar with her shadow, when she refuses to acknowledge it? She begins to project it onto other people, especially those with whom she enters into close relationships. A man becomes a screen for her own unconscious qualities. For example, if a woman suppresses healthy aggression and the ability to assert her boundaries, she might unconsciously attract aggressive men or, conversely, men who are too soft, whom she will despise for lacking masculine core, not realizing she despises her own undeveloped part. If she fears her sexuality, she might condemn sexually liberated women while simultaneously experiencing an incomprehensible, almost painful attraction to men who seem vicious or dangerous to her. Or another scenario, a woman who doesn't acknowledge her inner strength and leadership qualities might project them onto a man, idealizing him, attributing all conceivable virtues to him, and placing him on a pedestal. In such a case, she will seek a strong shoulder to lean on, not noticing that she possesses this strength herself. But when such a man suddenly shows weakness or imperfection, and he inevitably will, as he is a human being, she will face deep disappointment. "He's not who I imagined him to be," she'll exclaim, not realizing she saw not him, but a reflection of her unrealized potential. It is these unconscious projections of the shadow that are the cause of a huge number of relationship failures. A woman either chooses partners who are perfectly suited for playing out her shadow scenarios, or pushes away those who could be a source of growth for her because they too clearly point to her own blind spots. She sees in a man not his real essence, but her fears, her complexes, her unfulfilled desires. It's like trying to view a beautiful painting through a crooked and dirty glass. Distortions are inevitable. Conflicts in a couple are very often the result of the collision of two shadows or the projection of one shadow onto another. "He doesn't understand me. He does everything to spite me." These accusations often hide an unwillingness to look within oneself and ask, "And what part of me reacts so strongly to his words or actions? Isn't he reflecting what I don't want to see in myself?" Integrating the shadow is the first and most crucial step towards mature relationships. It is a courageous process of recognizing and accepting one's dark sides, as well as one's hidden talents. When you begin to become aware of your shadow, you stop projecting it onto your partner. You become more whole, more honest with yourself and with him. And, most surprisingly, it is then that a man begins to see the real you, not a distorted image created by his or your projections. Working with the shadow is like wiping that dirty glass. You begin to see clearly, and this is the first step to being seen clearly. Think about it. What qualities in men particularly attract or repel you? Are they not a reflection of your own shadow? Now let's dive even deeper into the mysteries of the male and female unconscious, where Jung discovered fundamental archetypal structures influencing our love choices. We're talking about the anima and animus. The anima, to put it simply, is the inner feminine image in the male unconscious. It's not just an ideal woman, but rather the sum of all his unconscious feminine aspects, his inner soul, his guide to the world of feelings, emotions, intuition. The anima is formed under the influence of a man's first experience with a woman, usually his mother, as well as under the influence of the collective unconscious, carrying archetypal images of woman, mother, beloved, muse, witch, etc. A man, often unknowingly, seeks a woman in the outer world who would correspond to his anima image, or, more precisely, one who would help him bring this image to life, integrate it, make it conscious. When a man falls madly in love, it often means that a woman has somehow hit his positive anima image. She awakens his best feelings, inspires him, gives him access to his own soul. Such a woman seems to him an embodiment of mystery, depth, understanding. He feels an inexplicable connection with her, as if he has always known her. However, if a man's anima is immature or distorted, for example, if he had a difficult relationship with his mother, he may project negative aspects of the anima onto women: capriciousness, irrationality, seductiveness leading to destruction. Or he will look for a woman who will play the role of a mother for him, nurturing and all-forgiving, which hinders his own maturation. And what happens in the female unconscious? There lives the animus, the inner masculine image. This is the sum of masculine qualities in a woman: logic, rationality, capacity for action, strength of spirit, striving for meaning. The animus, like the anima, is formed under the influence of the first male figure, father, and collective archetypes of man: father, hero, sage, tyrant, etc. And here lies another common mistake that many of you might be making without realizing it. Very often, women interact with a man not from their authentic feminine essence, but through their immature or distorted animus. What does this mean? An immature animus can manifest as critical, all-knowing, dogmatic. A woman with such an animus constantly lectures a man, argues with him on any pretext, tries to prove her point, devalues his opinion. She speaks not from the heart, but from a head, full of rigid beliefs and prejudices. Such an animus does not inspire a man but suppresses him, causing irritation and a desire to defend himself or withdraw. A man does not feel emotional warmth next to such a woman. He feels like he's at an exam or on trial. Another variant of an immature animus is passively victimized. A woman may be filled with opinions and judgments gleaned from outside, from parents, friends, books, or social media, but have no opinion of her own. Hard won. Her animus is weak. She is incapable of independent decisions. She seeks a master or savior in a man who would decide everything for her. Such an animus is also unattractive to a mature man, as he does not see an equal partner in the woman, but only a reflection of his or others' expectations. The animus can also be possessed when a woman blindly follows some idea, fanatically defends some principles, ignoring reality and the feelings of other people. This could be careerism, achievement at any cost, or conversely, complete immersion in some spiritual doctrine detached from life. When a woman interacts with a man through such a distorted animus, she is, in essence, offering him to communicate not with her feminine soul, but with a kind of masculine caricature within her. A man, seeking his anima, his soul, finds no response. He either withdraws or, if his own anima is immature, may enter into destructive relationships where power struggles, mutual accusations, or codependency will be played out. The key to harmonious relationships for a woman is the development of her own mature, integrated animus. What is it? It is an animus that becomes a bridge between her inner world and the outer, between her feelings and her reason. A mature animus gives a woman clarity of thought and the ability to comprehend. She not only feels but also understands her feelings and motives. The ability for constructive dialogue. She can express her opinion firmly but respectfully, without suppressing her partner. The courage to be herself and follow her own path. She is not dependent on others' evaluations. She has her own inner compass. The ability to understand male psychology, not at the level of stereotypes, but at the level of deep archetypal processes. She begins to speak the same language as men, the language of meaning and spirit, creative initiative, and the ability to bring her ideas to life. A woman with a mature animus does not try to compete with a man on his field. She does not try to be like a man. She remains deeply feminine, but her femininity is enriched with wisdom, strength of spirit, and awareness that her integrated animus gives her. It is such a woman who is truly capable of seeing a man, understanding his deep aspirations, supporting him on his path to his own wholeness. And it is such a woman who activates his positive anima image in a man, awakening his best qualities and a deep, meaningful feeling of love. Developing the animus is a process that requires self-analysis, honesty with oneself, a willingness to challenge one's established beliefs, and openness to new experiences. It is a path to inner strength that does not suppress, but inspires. And this is another key to making a man fall madly in love, not with an illusion, but with your authentic, multifaceted essence. We have come to another important concept of Jung's, the persona. The persona is your social mask, the role or set of roles you play in society to be accepted, to meet expectations, to achieve your goals. The persona is the good girl, the successful career woman, the caring mother, the sexual seductress, the spiritual seeker, and so on. Having a persona is normal and even necessary for adapting to society. It protects your vulnerable inner essence from the harshness of the outer world. The problem arises when a woman identifies herself with her persona, when the mask grows so attached to her face that she forgets who she really is underneath. In the context of relationships, this manifests as a woman trying to attract and keep a man by showing him some ideal version of herself that, in her opinion, he should like. She might play the role of the perfect hostess, even if she hates cooking, or the carefree fun lover, suppressing her sadness and vulnerability, or the intellectual, afraid of seeming too simple. Why is this a trap? Firstly, maintaining a false facade is very energy-consuming. Sooner or later, the true essence will begin to break through, and then the man may feel deceived. "You weren't like this when we met," is a common reproach in such situations. Secondly, when a woman interacts through her persona, she attracts not someone who will love her real self, but someone who will love her mask. And this means that the man, most likely, will also interact with her through his persona. It turns into a theater of two actors, where there is no place for genuine intimacy and sincerity. Such relationships, built on personas, are doomed to fail in the long run. Either they will fall apart when the masks come off, or they will turn into a formal union of two solitudes, where each plays their role, but no one feels truly loved and understood. What is the way out? Jung points us to the path. It is individuation. Individuation is a lifelong process of becoming oneself, of attaining one's unique wholeness, of integrating all aspects of one's personality, including the shadow and the mature animus, and connecting with one's deep essence, which Jung called the self. The self is the archetype of wholeness, your inner center, the divine spark within you. It is the instance that strives for the full disclosure of your potential. The path of individuation is the path to authenticity. When a woman embarks on this path, she ceases to depend on external evaluations. She begins to live from her inner center. She removes imposed masks and dares to be herself, with all her strengths and weaknesses, power and vulnerability, light and shadow. She doesn't try to please a man, she simply is. And it is this authenticity, this inner honesty and wholeness, that possesses incredible attractive power. Why? Because a woman on the path of individuation radiates a special energy, an energy of life, truth, depth. She becomes interesting in herself, not because she conforms to some standards. She does not seek salvation or the filling of her inner emptiness in a man, because she herself becomes a source for herself. She does not try to earn love, because she knows her worth. It is such a woman who is capable of activating a man's own striving for individuation, for his self. Next to her, he feels not like an object of manipulation or expectations, but like a partner in an exciting journey to the depths of being. He sees in her not just a beautiful shell or a convenient function, but a personality with whom one can grow, develop, and learn about oneself and the world. This is the basis for deep, genuine, and mutual love, the kind that does not fade over time but transforms into mature, meaningful love. Think about what personas you most often wear when interacting with men. What true part of you remains hidden behind them? Are you ready to risk being yourself, even if it means not meeting someone's expectations? The path of individuation requires courage, but its reward is finding yourself and the ability for true love. Before we move on to unraveling what to say before bed, I want to briefly touch upon another aspect of Jung's teachings that sheds light on the dynamics of interpersonal relationships. These are archetypes. Archetypes are universal, innate psychic structures, images, and patterns of behavior contained in the collective unconscious. They manifest in myths, fairy tales, dreams, art, and of course, in our relationships. In relationships between a man and a woman, various archetypal scenarios are often unconsciously played out. Understanding these scenarios helps us avoid destructive patterns and make our relationships more conscious. For example, the Great Mother archetype. In its positive aspect, it's care, nourishment, unconditional love. But if this archetype dominates in a woman, she can turn into a mummy for her man, depriving him of independence and masculinity. The man in turn may seek exclusively a maternal figure in a woman, avoiding adult responsibility. The Puella, eternal girl, or Puer, eternal boy, archetype. The Puella is a woman who fears growing up, responsibility, commitment. She is charming, playful, but incapable of deep, mature attachment. She flits from one relationship to another, seeking eternal novelty and avoiding routine. A man charmed by a Puella can fall into the trap of her immaturity. Similarly, the Puer is a man who is eternally seeking adventure, avoids commitment, and fears being caught. The wise old woman, or old man. Archetype. This is inner wisdom, intuition, the ability to see the essence of things. When a woman is connected to this archetype, she becomes for a man not just a lover, but also a counselor, a guide, a source of inspiration. She doesn't fuss. She knows the value of time and herself. The hero archetype. A man under the influence of this archetype strives for feats, for overcoming obstacles, for protecting his beloved. A woman, in turn, can inspire him to heroic deeds or, conversely, expect constant feats from him, not noticing his human needs. The lover archetype. This is passion, romance, eros. This archetype is necessary to maintain the fire in a relationship. But if it dominates, relationships can be built only on sexual attraction and quickly exhaust themselves when passion fades. There are many other archetypes: trickster, child, king, queen, warrior, priestess. They intertwine in our souls and manifest in our interactions. When a woman begins to recognize which archetypal roles she plays herself and which she projects onto her partner, she gains the opportunity to break free from their power if they lead her down a destructive path. She can consciously choose which aspects of these archetypes she wants to integrate and manifest in her life and in her relationships. For example, instead of being a victim, also an archetypal role, a woman can activate the spiritual warrior or healer archetype within herself. Instead of playing the Snow Queen, she can allow the warm and accepting hostess of her inner world to emerge. Understanding archetypes is not about labeling, but about expanding your vision, seeing deep, universal patterns of the human soul behind everyday situations. This gives you freedom of choice and the opportunity to create your relationships more consciously. So, we have come a long way, delving into the depths of Jungian psychology. We talked about the shadow, anima and animus, persona and individuation, and archetypes. And now, I think you're already guessing that the "this" that you need to say before bed is not some single magic phrase that will make any man fall at your feet. If it were that simple, the world would be full of happy couples, and my work as an analyst would be unnecessary. Say this before bed is a symbolic act, an inner attitude, a conscious appeal to your unconscious, aimed at integrating those aspects of your personality we've discussed, and at creating an inner space attractive for mature, deep love. Why specifically before bed? Because the time before sleep is when the veil between consciousness and the unconscious thins. At this moment, your unconscious is particularly receptive to new attitudes, to symbolic messages. Sleep is the realm of the unconscious, where deep information processing, healing, and integration occur. What you fall asleep with determines the quality of your inner work during sleep. So, what specifically can you say or do? I will offer you several practice options based on Jungian principles. Choose the one that resonates with you most, or alternate them. The main thing is your sincerity, your readiness for inner work, and your faith in the wisdom of your unconscious. Formulate an intention or affirmation for the unconscious, aimed at integrating the shadow and developing a mature animus. Before sleep, when you are already in bed, relax, take a few deep breaths in and out, then say, aloud or to yourself, an intention, something like this: My wise unconscious, I open myself to you. I accept and lovingly integrate all parts of myself, even those I previously rejected or feared. I acknowledge my shadow and make space for its power and its lessons. I welcome the development of my mature, creative animus, my inner source of wisdom, clarity, and spiritual strength. I choose the path to my wholeness, to myself. I am ready for relationships based on authenticity, mutual respect, and deep soul connection. You can change this wording, add something of your own, as long as it resonates with your heart. It's important not just to mechanically repeat words, but to invest feeling and intention in them. Ask your unconscious a question before sleep. The unconscious loves to speak to us in the language of symbols, images, dreams. Ask it a question before sleep, and pay attention to the answers that may come in dreams, as sudden insights the next day, or through coincidental events and encounters. Examples of questions. What part of my shadow is important for me to see and accept right now for my healing and growth? How can my inner man, my animus, Help me become more whole and build harmonious relationships. What is my next step on the path to myself, to my true essence? What do I need to let go of to make space for true love in my life? Ask the question and let it go. Don't try to find the answer with your mind immediately. Trust your unconscious. A brief meditative practice or visualization. This practice is aimed at a symbolic encounter with your inner resources. Close your eyes, relax. Imagine you are entering a beautiful, safe inner garden. In this garden, you can meet a symbolic image of your shadow. Don't be afraid of it. Try to talk to it. Ask what it wants to tell you, what gift it carries. Try to accept it. Or imagine meeting the image of your mature Animus. It could be a wise mentor, a strong protector, a creative inspirer. Communicate with him, ask for his advice or support, or visualize yourself connected to yourself, like a bright light in the center of your chest, like a deep sense of peace, wisdom, and self-love. This practice doesn't need to be long. 5 to 10 minutes is enough. The main thing is to create an inner space for dialogue with yourself. Why does this work from Jung's perspective? Working with the unconscious before sleep. As I said, this is a time of special receptivity. We give the unconscious an assignment for the night. Symbolism. The unconscious thinks in symbols. Affirmations, questions, visualizations are symbolic actions that trigger internal transformation processes. Activation of inner resources. These practices help you connect with your inner archetypal figures, shadow, animus, self, and activate their positive potential. You stop being victims of your unconscious complexes and become active participants in your inner growth, changing your vibrational field. When you begin this deep work, your inner tuning, your energy changes. You start radiating different information outwards. And by the law of resonance, you begin to attract different people and different situations that correspond to your new inner state. This isn't a magic pill that will work overnight. It's a practice that requires regularity, patience, and faith. But if you perform it consciously and with an open heart, you will begin to notice changes. First within yourself, more calm, confidence, self-acceptance, and then in the external world, in your relationships with men and with life in general. You will start to attract men who see and value your depth, your authenticity, your uniqueness. And this will not be a fleeting infatuation, but a deep, meaningful attraction of souls striving for wholeness. We have reached the end of our conversation today. I hope it was not only interesting but also truly useful for you. As you can see, true attraction, the very mad love that each of you dreams of, is not the result of external tricks, manipulations, or conformity to some fashionable standards. It is the result of deep inner work, an honest acquaintance with yourself, with your shadow sides, with your inner masculine principle, with your unique self. Carl Gustav Jung gave us invaluable keys to understanding the human soul. And these keys open the door not only to harmonious relationships with a partner, but also to a fuller, more meaningful and joyful life in general. The path of individuation, the path to one's wholeness, is a lifelong journey full of discoveries, challenges, and incredible rewards. And every step on this path makes you not just more attractive in the eyes of men, it makes you more alive, more real, more radiant from within. The woman who dares to look into her depths, who integrates her shadow, develops her mature animus, removes false persona masks, and strives for herself, becomes a magnet for those men who are also ready for depth, for authenticity, for growth. It's not about getting a man. It's about becoming such a woman that a man himself will want to be with, develop with, and love. I urge you not just to listen to this information, but to start applying it in your life. Start small. Try the suggested practices before bed. Start observing your projections, the manifestations of your animus, your social masks. Be patient and compassionate with yourself. This path is not always easy, but it is incredibly enriching. And of course, I would be very happy if you share your thoughts and discoveries in the comments under this video. Which of Carl Jung's ideas seemed most relevant to you and resonated with your soul? Have you encountered manifestations of the shadow or an immature animus in your relationships or in yourself? What archetypal scenarios have you noticed in your life? And most importantly, Try the suggested practice before bed, the one you liked best, for at least 1 week. Then come back here and write in the comments about your feelings, changes, dreams, insights. Your experience can be invaluable not only for you, but also for other women who are looking for their path to themselves and to happy relationships. Your stories can inspire, support, and show that this work really bears fruit. Remember, each of you is a unique and unrepeatable universe, and in your hands is the key to unlocking your true beauty and strength. I believe in you. Thank you for your time and attention. Until we meet again on the path to depth.